Let's talk about what it really means to be a highly sensitive person. Now, I'm guessing because you're here, you kind of have an inkling that this might be you, but you don't really know what it means. What you do know is that you've been told that you're too sensitive a lot of your life, that you sometimes wonder if it's harder to be human for you than it is for other people, and if other people feel things as deeply as you do. That is going to be cleared up by the end of this talk today. And it is an important one for us to look at, because research now shows that 15 to 20% of the population are highly sensitive people. This isn't a flaw or a disorder. This is just a trait. It's a way that we exist within our environments on the outside and our worlds on the inside. There's actually also research that shows that there is a genetic marker for sensitivity. So this is just part of who you are. And when we understand this better, it makes it easier to be human existing in the world as a highly sensitive person. So stay tuned. You're going to get a lot out of this one. It's going to make a lot more things make a lot more sense. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below if you are back again. It is always good to have you here. Special shout out to my shifters. Really glad you're here. And for whatever reason you're here, my name is Kristina, and I'm a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my membership community, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work to a deeper level. You're being guided, supported, held accountable the whole way through. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. And I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And as I mentioned, being a highly sensitive person, it is not a flaw, it is a trait. And there's things about being a highly sensitive person that make being human more difficult. But the good news is there are so many things about being a highly sensitive person that make life so much better. And so we're going to talk just in a neutral way what this means and how to know if this is a trait that you have. The first sign that you are a highly sensitive person, the first thing to look out for is if you are someone who has a deep awareness of the subtleties in your environment. You can kind of sense what's going on around you. You know kind of what sights and colors and smells and sounds are happening. You kind of are tuned in, and in some ways that can make it really great because you're aware of little nuances of the things around you, but it can be overwhelming if you are taking in a lot from your environment all at once. But the bottom line is that you just have more of an awareness and are more tuned in to what's happening around you. The second sign is because you have this awareness not only of your environment, you also have a deeper awareness of other humans and especially their moods. You can pick up on people's energy, just sort of what they're putting out, maybe even if it's subtle. Whereas your friend who's less highly sensitive, you might walk in and be kind of with a group of friends and you're like, oh, so-and-so just seems kind of off. And your friend is like, what? What are you talking about? They seem fine to me. But you can kind of just pick up on something. There's something going on there in their mood, in their energy. And this can be used for a really good thing, in a really good way, if you're aware of your social situation and the people within it, and someone who might be feeling kind of uncomfortable or left out, that you're going to pick up on that. And you're going to be the person that draws them into the fold, grabs them a chair, makes space for them, and makes them feel more comfortable because you're aware of when they're not. The next sign of being a highly sensitive person is that you can get overwhelmed in highly stimulating situations. You can get overwhelmed and just sort of overloaded, where you might even feel sometimes like your brain just kind of wants to shut down when you're in either really loud environments, really bright environments, when you're in places with a lot of smells that may be more enclosed. As we talked about, you're more sensitive to your environment, which can come with being overwhelmed by your environment because your senses are much more sensitive to the things that are going on around you. It feels bigger. Lights feel brighter. Sounds might feel louder. What you are kind of seeing around you and taking in is more. And so really knowing that that is a sign of being a highly sensitive person. For me, I am very sensitive to lighting. If I walk into a room where there's only kind of overhead fluorescent lights, or even just like the wrong color of light, like more of like a cool blue light as opposed to a warmer light, then I will immediately start to just feel this unease. I can't even always put my finger on it, but I feel kind of uncomfortable. Or if I kind of see that there's a room like that, I will unconsciously try to avoid it. I much prefer lamp lighting. I am immediately more calm when I walk into a room where there's warm, cozy lighting, usually spot lamp lighting throughout the space. I immediately feel more calm. I also feel a lot more calm when I'm listening to classical music versus hardcore gangster rap. Although there is a time and place, especially when I'm doing a workout, I love the gangster rap, but I will automatically notice my whole nervous system relax when putting on classical music. That I just feel this automatic, without even trying, ability to exhale and soften. So knowing that your highly sensitivity-ness can make your environment feel more overwhelming and overstimulating if there is a lot going on. You might feel like you want to shut down. You might feel like you want to run away. You might just have this sort of resistance. And it's not an anxiety. It's not social anxiety. So it's not about resisting situations because you're worried about going and interacting with people, but you kind of have this sense that there's just going to be so much going on and you're going to feel overwhelmed by it all. The next sign of being a highly sensitive people is that you are more impacted by things like art and music and food. Because your senses are more sensitive, art may be very moving to you, especially if it's art that connects with you. You might find that your mood is significantly shifted depending on the music you're listening to. That your mood can be lifted very readily with uplifting music, and you can feel kind of down or melancholic or sad or maybe even angry depending on the music that you are listening to. Food for you is a whole other experience where you're not just eating because it tastes good and it's nourishing your body. Food for you can be almost religious, where you're sitting there, you're engulfed in it, you are tasting things, and it's a whole other level of sensation, of pleasure. And if it's not good, it's a whole other sensation of disgust. But ultimately, you are more impacted by these things in your environment. The next sign is, because you're more impacted by things in your environment, things like violence or other people being in distress, things in the news that are very upsetting and very tragic or traumatic, even scenes in movies that are tragic or traumatic, are not just things that you're seeing and can kind of just let go. And be able to say, oh, that's unfortunate, or oh, that's too bad, or oh, that's awful, and then move along. Or in a movie, you can't just be like, oh yeah, it was just a movie, it's just actors, where these images get burned into your brain. These human experiences are felt deep within you. And it might take you a while to shake it, where it might even, you can't put your finger on it, but it kind of throws you off for the next few hours or maybe even the next few days because of the impact those disturbing or distressing things had on you in that deeper way. In a nutshell, highly sensitive people have senses that are a lot more sensitive. They also have emotions that are a lot more sensitive when it comes to the emotions within themselves and when it comes to the emotions of others. Highly sensitive people feel both of them more deeply. So, where are you at? If you connected with many of the things that I just talked about, then you are a highly sensitive person. Congratulations and welcome to the club. There are so many wonderful things about being over here. Also take note that being a highly sensitive person is not the same as being an introvert. Although introverts do share a lot of similar tendencies as HSPs, as many as 30% of highly sensitive people are extroverts. Also know that being a highly sensitive person is not the same as being on the autism spectrum. Yes, again, there are several traits that people on the autism spectrum do share with being a highly sensitive person, but there are several specific diagnostic criteria that also go with being on the autism spectrum. Interestingly enough, I was working with a client recently who was talking about being a highly sensitive person, or rather, I was talking to him about being a highly sensitive person because he was talking about many of the things that he was experiencing that are on par with what a person who is highly sensitive experiences. And when I started to explain it to him and help him understand what that meant, there was this huge wash of relief that came over his face because he said for so long he felt like there was something different about him, that he experienced being human differently than other people. And he thought for a while that he was maybe on the autism spectrum, but he didn't fit the criteria. He had even gone to try and get a diagnosis, but the diagnostician was like, you're very much not on the spectrum. That's not what's happening here. It's something else. And so again, he was looking for an answer. He couldn't find an answer, but he knew that something felt different. When I started talking to him about all these things, the light bulbs went on, this sign of relief came over him, his body, his face. And he was like, that's it. That makes so much sense. That has answered so many questions for me. And I finally feel like I can put this one to rest. And now we can work on how to live more fully and freely and peacefully and with joy and connection as a highly sensitive person. It takes engaging with ourselves and with life differently than someone who is not a highly sensitive person. We need to do different things. One of the main things that we need to do is need to get really good at paying attention to ourselves when we are starting to get overwhelmed or overstimulated. Starting to really tune into the signs of when that is happening and then be able to create the space that we need to take a step back, to go into low stimulation and recharge, and to reinvest in ourselves, and to find peace and quiet, because we do need that. Being a highly sensitive person absolutely comes with some challenges that people that are not highly sensitive don't have to deal with. But it also comes with some incredible benefits and superpowers that you can't find anywhere else. I have an exercise for you. It's my 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. That one is going to help you kind of find that regulating, quiet, that balance, that space when you are starting to get overwhelmed or overloaded. Grab that free 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. It's an audio. You can stick some headphones in. You can do it right now. And let me know which of these connected with you. I hope watching this made a whole lot of things make a whole lot more sense. And if they did, please do take a minute and let me know in the comment section below. As always, it is amazing to have you here. And take good care of yourselves. Take good care of those around you. Bye for now.